I'm Wallace Long, and welcome to week 8 of the Smoke and Soul project, Dave and Cara's final week on the road. And it's been a big week with the last 2 barbecues of the trip. One in Broken Hill, partnering with Feeding Friends, and the final barbecue with Vinnies Fred's Van in Port Pirie. It's been an epic journey of over 7,000 kilometres with over 1,400 meals cooked and served. A big thanks to everyone who has contributed to and supported the Smoke and Soul project. And thanks to the Smoke and Soul sponsors, Phantom Screens, Charcoal Kings, Lane's Barbecue, Just Tint It, and Ampol Australia with their Ampol Cash Fuel Card. Dave joins me after this. Dave, week 8 of the Smoke and Soul project. Do you believe it?
Yeah, week 8. Wow, almost there. Almost at the end. So yeah, couple of barbecues left, and it's gone by really fast. But it's also felt like those early barbecues were ages ago.
Now, mate, I believe you had a special guest in Broken Hill.
Ah, yes, a special guest indeed. Yourself, your fine self. Yeah, thank you for heading on up. It was funny. We were saying that we haven't actually spoken face to face since we were putting this podcast together. Which was ages ago now. So yeah, no, it was awesome, and having you there and having you be a part of service was just unreal.
Oh, it was great to see you guys in action. I got a hats off to Cara. I mean, she is a super sleuth. Let me tell you, you had no idea at all.
No, I had no idea, and yeah, to see you there, oh my God, I was so happy.
Yeah, and me too. And it was lovely to see you all in action, and your in-laws as well have obviously been a big part of the trip.
Yeah.
Yes, it was wonderful. And I think my contribution was sort of turning over some potatoes on the skillet. I dropped most of them, but
no,
I think
they looked all right though.
Well, I think you did all the prep, mate. So tell me about Broken Hill.
Okay, so starting from the start, we had a Thursday evening service. So we arrived late on Tuesday afternoon, and I'd spoken to our food service partners, Feeding Friends. Feeding Friends in Broken Hill, founded by a man, Don, who we had spoken on the phone earlier in the journey, and he was really excited to have us, and they were pumping it up. They had posted several things on Facebook, on their Facebook page. So spoken to him on the phone. I said, we're heading in. Got to Broken Hill around sort of 3:30, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and set ourselves up. And then I popped out and met him at a local pub, which was nice. And him and I hung out for a few hours and just caught up, and he was really interested in where we've been and who we've fed and what we've seen and our experiences, and and I was also interested in hearing his past and his story and how Feeding Friends came about. And his story is absolutely unreal, and he's had several interviews on it, so I won't go into his past and history, but there's heaps of things out there on on him. Throughout our catch up, I was asking him more about our service on the Thursday evening and what specifically he was sort of hoping for. And what they do up there, they partner with a lot of existing food takeaway places, so they ask for sponsorship from the pizza place, the fish and chip shop, the pub. So he's built really good relationships with all of them who can help him feed people throughout the week. I was asking him how many people we were expecting, and he said, well, he wasn't entirely sure. On average, they're feeding around sort of like 30 to 40. But he said, given that he's really pumped it up and he's spoken about us coming, and he said, look, we're really not sure. It could be huge, or it could be the standard sort of 30 or 40. So I said to him, well, how about this? I'll cater for around 100, and then at least whatever food is left over you can have, and that can help feed people for a service in the future. And he said that would be excellent. So I said, yep, let's do that. And if 100 people come, well, at least they'll get fed. And if they don't come, well, at least he's got enough food then to help feed people in the in the future.
After the break, I catch up with Silvio from Charcoal Kings in this week's Sponsor Spotlight. Silvio, what got you interested in the Smoke and Soul project?
Two triggers, really. Homelessness and children are two things that we really like to support, and they're close to my heart. I've known Dave since 2023 when he first approached us in regards to cooking for the homeless. So when he came up with this Smoke and Soul project, it was a no-brainer for us.
Silvio, can you tell me about Charcoal Kings and what you do exactly?
Charcoal Kings was originally a charcoal supplier only. Now sort of grown and sort of transformed that business into more of a barbecue company. We do charcoal, we also import grills. We also now have started to import exclusively rubs and sauces from the US and started to distribute those nationally. We've got representation in every state. We export to New Zealand, we export to parts of the US. And we've expanded into importing from Indonesia, South America. We also manufacture Australian charcoal here in New South Wales. And we're about to start importing some charcoal from Vietnam. So we're a multi-brand company. We can go into a food service situation and basically provide the right tools for the right job. Every chef has their preferences. We can provide a range to hone in on exactly what they want to achieve in their kitchen. So that's what makes us a little bit different from the rest of the barbecue companies in Australia.
Silvio, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The following day was our food sourcing day, but before I went and sourced all my food, I was very fortunate to have an interview on ABC, Broken Hill. They have been such a huge support. I had actually spoken to the ABC before arriving. They actually phoned us, and they were really interested in having me on. So yeah, and I've said in the past, I'm always excited to do anything like that to help promote what we're doing and raise awareness of the issues that are getting bigger and bigger and worse and worse. So yeah, anyone that wants to hear that interview, I think I posted that on my Insta, so you can go back and hear that if you're interested. So then, yes, I had that interview, and actually, funnily enough, so ABC did me a favour and phoned the local butcher, which was Top End Meats, and they said, go and see Rob down there at Top End Meats, and they said, we've already phoned ahead and told him you're heading in, and so which was excellent. So I went down there and I told him what I was doing and told him that I was planning on cooking around 100 cheeseburgers, and he gave me a sensational discount. Probably would have been at 50-60% off, which is really helpful. So I thank him for his help. And then and then we were just going to do some potato wedges as our side. Had a bit of time in the afternoon to spend it with the family, which is always welcomed. And we popped out and saw some of these sculptures that are just outside Broken Hill in the outback there. They've got these rock sculptures, which are really awesome. So it was just excellent to spend a bit of family time and also get ourselves organised for the barbecue the following day.
So Dave, service day, what time were you up and at it?
Service wasn't until 5 p.m, so that was that's always handy. So I was able to do a bit of a low and slow cook. So yeah, didn't have to get up super early, but got there, got up around 7:30 and got to Kintor Reserve. It's actually called the Kintor head frame, and they've actually reconstructed an old mining head frame there. So it was a really special spot to be. I felt like I was in a real significant part of the town. Got to the Kintor head frame at around 8:30, and we got everything unpacked, and Don was happy to take the day off, his work also, and come along and help out. So he was also there to help, which was, it was just excellent to have a person, hang out with. Often on this journey, I've been doing barbecues on my own, which is all right, but it is always better to have someone to, hang out with. And got food on around 9, and yeah, basically just let that go for a good sort of 7-8 hours. And yeah, while the food was on, we were sort of able to prep our sides and do our potatoes. So we had scheduled for sort of like 4:35 p.m. service, and yeah, people were sort of hanging around probably a bit earlier, actually, probably around 4ish. And yeah, we were just able to just chat, with people, which is always nice. And yes, service started, and it only went for an hour and a half. It was a sort of a slow flow of people. I think in the end we only did do about 30 to 40 people. As I said before, is all right. That's fine. We weren't sure if to expect to have over that or under that. So I was able to send the guys at Feeding Friends home with a heap of rolls left over and a heap of food left over, so they can use it in a future service, which is excellent.
I must say I was supremely impressed with the pack down. Chris, your father-in-law, man, what a machine.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has been. It's funny. The pack down is where he shines. It's it's his area of expertise. He understands where everything fits, how it all goes in the back. I mean, this is I guess I didn't say earlier, this was barbecue number 17, so we've done this 16 times earlier. So he's all over it.
He certainly was. Yeah, that was wonderful, and it was really insightful for me to having spoken to you for the last couple of months, from Adelaide, and to be there and see it at the coalface. It just says to me the amazing effort that you and the family have done, because 17 barbecues to that point, and not only the actual setting up and cooking and then the pack down, it's just all the preparation, the travel and everything. And, you had the early days which were wet throughout the journey around Dubbo Way, had the car problems, and then you had rain up in Queensland as well. So it must have been nice to have some clear weather for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we hadn't seen rain yet. I think Gold Coast was our last shower, and you think how far we've been since. So we've been really fortunate.
Don from Feeding Friends will join us after this short break. Joined by Don from Feeding Friends to hear about their work in Broken Hill. Don, welcome to the Smoke and Soul podcast.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Don, can you tell me about the work you do in supporting those in need?
Yes, so Feeding Friends supports those who are homeless in the Broken Hill community. We support them in the way of an evening meal, that being 7 nights a week, because there is no other organisation in Broken Hill who feed anyone in need, especially the homeless, 7 nights a week. We do have another organisation who feeds people at breakfast, but that's only 5 days. So it's very important that someone has a hot nutritional meal 7 nights a week, and it makes it very hard when you're homeless to buy, store and then cook food at a reasonable price. So it's very expensive to go out and buy takeaway all the time. So it's good that we can give back to those who need that.
Dave and Cara were with you on Thursday. What did them being there mean to your community?
Oh, look, Dave and Cara, absolutely fantastic. It's something totally different to what we normally serve our clients. A beautiful smoked meal, pulled pork rolls. How fantastic is that?
What are you seeing in 2026 that is different to, say, 2 years ago?
We're seeing a lot more cost of living crisis, homelessness as well. Look, we started this 5 years ago, and over the first couple of years it was a steady amount of people. We all knew them personally from being on the streets, but over the last couple of years it's grown, and it's grown in the fashion of we're now feeding families that are living in cars, dads with children. It was only last night there was a dad down here, who's down here quite regularly, I should say, comes down with his little daughter, and look, she'd only be 6 or 7 at the most, and it's a shocking situation to be in, to be homeless, living in a car. He's trying to take that child to school every day, but then come home to live in a car. How are they supposed to better themselves? Whose fault is it? Is it the government's? Is it ours? I don't know. It's a shocking situation, and it's getting worse.
So with regards to the people that you do feed, what is your hope for them?
My hope for them is something that can be sorted out. You know, we can get them housed, but in a situation that's not just Broken Hill, it's Australia-wide, a housing shortage. And I'm not knocking the government for bringing people, new people into the country, but we can't even house the people that are here. But our government are bringing in more immigrants. I just don't understand it.
In 2022, you sat down and talked with a man who was sleeping rough. Something in you made you stop that day. Where do you think that instinct came from? Was it something from your upbringing or from somewhere else?
I remember the situation you're talking about, and that's what started Feeding Friends off. I believe when I seen that man who was homeless, I seen myself when I was homeless, living in Adelaide Parklands. But at the same time, I remember my upbringing. My mother used to work with family daycare, and she also used to take in emergency care through foster care. And, you know, quite often when I was maybe 10 or 11 years of age, either the police or community services would come around with a child or even a baby still in nappies for my mother to look after because of whatever their family dynamics were. So I guess I grew up understanding that people need help, and it's not always their own fault, especially a young child. So I had a good upbringing. My life didn't always stay on track like that, as some people will be aware if they've followed my story through social media or ABC News, that I fell into drug addiction and drug trafficking. But, you know, I do have a good heart, I think.
Feeding Friends, how can people help you?
People can get onto our Facebook page, Feeding Friends 2880, and they can look us up via email, or we have a 1-800 phone number that people can call us on. Yeah, so Feeding Friends 2880, that's our Facebook page. Check it out. You can find out all sorts of information, or if you wanted to Google my name, Don Barron, Barron, you can see some ABC media releases.
So the sort of things that people could help you with, is it volunteering?
Volunteering, we love volunteers because they're the heart of our organisation. That's what keeps us going. You know, 5 years ago it was just myself and my wife Kelly who used to hit the streets every night of the week, but now we have some wonderful people, but we could always do with some more. The more support we've got, the more people we can reach in the community.
Are there any other ways that people can support you with goods or food?
Yes. Look, if you've got unwanted products at home or at your local business, they don't even have to be in date. They might be just slightly past their best before date. We can always use that to help somebody else, whether that be homeless or the working poor who might be struggling to feed their family a day or two before payday. So that's how we can help those people. So if you're looking in your cupboards and you see something you're not going to use, or the freezer, more than welcome to contact us and we'll have somebody pick that up. And you can also make monetary donations because we are a registered association in New South Wales.
So with regards, you have partners throughout Broken Hill. If there's anybody that knows somebody who's doing it tough that really needs a meal, who are those partners and what days do they provide food?
So Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, the Seventh-day Adventists have a program in Wolfram Street that people can get food assistance from. On Wednesdays and Fridays, the Salvation Army, also located in Wolfram Street, have a program where people can get food hampers and fresh bread and things like that. And then the Hope Centre, located in Argent Street, that's open Thursdays and Saturdays from 10 to 1 p.m, and people can get fresh bread, vegetables, fruits, food hampers, etc. So 7 days a week, somebody can receive some kind of assistance in Broken Hill through our partnerships with these organisations.
Don, thank you so much for your time, and it's great to hear about the work that you're doing in Broken Hill.
Thank you for having me.
Dave, you left Broken Hill and headed to Port Pirie for a Sunday evening service.
It was actually sort of felt a bit odd to think that we were going to Port Pirie for our final stop. It was a funny one. We were really pumped to head there, but also sad that it was our final stop before heading home. I guess really fitting that we started with Fred's van in Adelaide, and at the start of June, and we finished with Fred's Van in Port Pirie. It's a bit weird, I suppose, that it's called Fred's Van because they don't actually have a food van. They've got a really good kitchen set up and a warehouse type thing that's at the rear of the op shop that they have there. So they don't actually send a van out, and they only do food service on a Sunday evening also. So it's my understanding there's a couple of other services that do food on other nights, but yeah, Fred's Van only do food on a Sunday. So yeah, so we headed there and got there on a Friday afternoon. The weather looked like it was starting to turn a bit, but the heavens sort of hadn't opened yet, but we could see ahead. It was certainly forecasting some heavy rain. I had spoken to Jack from Vinnies the day before. He was really interested in sort of how we do things in Adelaide and how that compares to what we do for Fred's Van in Adelaide in comparison to what we are going to do for Port Pirie. He was really excited to have us. His volunteers that were on that evening, there was about 6 or 7 of them, were also really excited to have us. So I caught up with him early on the Saturday, actually. So I caught up with him on Saturday. He opened up the space and showed us where everything is. And he said he was more than happy to open up early for us on Sunday and just allow us to use the space all day on Sunday because we had another 5 p.m. service. Another opportunity for me to cook some low and slow. So went out to source all my food, sort of thinking we would do pulled beef again and also serve up some ribs. I really thought it would be good if I could serve my 2 favourite things at the final stop. So to do pulled beef and some ribs. They were only expecting around 30 to 40 there also. So wasn't going to be a big service, but was, so I was, happy to do a really special feed for those 30 or 40 who were going to be there. Yeah, this was going to be a really special one, I think, more so for us being the last stop. So set out to source some food. That was relatively simple. Got everything I was after, and then it was just a case of how we were going to set things up, and it was very dependent on what the weather was going to do the following day. We had some space outside where we could set the barbecues outside, but we were also very fortunate that we could set the barbecues undercover inside if we had to.
Dave, I did listen to the vlog when I was walking this morning, and I was really, really taken by the explanation of how to cook ribs. Yeah,
you would have seen, I think, in the earlier episodes of the vlog, I was doing a lot of stuff where I was filming, how to do the food aspect of it and seasoning things, trimming things up. I suppose once you do that the first few times, I feel like you don't have to see me seasoning a piece of pork over and over again. But it did occur to me in Pirie that I hadn't done a piece on ribs. So I just thought while I was just, sorting out food and getting things organised, it probably would be a good idea to actually show you how I season up, ribs. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good.
Thank you.
Dave, you're about 4 or 5 hours out from service and the heavens opened.
Yeah, it's been funny over the journey how, things have just seemed to work out. There's been times where we've been in a park and we haven't had any coverage at all, and it's been perfectly fine. And then the one time that it absolutely just hammers it down really hard, I'm inside. So it was perfect. I was in their big warehouse that they've got there. I could poke the end of the barbecue sort of slightly outside, and I had a perfect space. I was under cover, and it just the heavens opened and it came down harder than I've seen in ages actually. So but just as I said, I was just really fortunate that we had the space that we had, and I was under cover, and it was no hindrance at all.
And how was service?
Yeah, so service was actually surprisingly a lot busier than I thought. They were saying around 30 to 40 people, and we thought, oh, possibly with the the heavy rain, it might not be as as high as that. But we had a good 40, maybe even 50 there, and I'm happy to say that we served out. We didn't have anything left over. Everyone had eaten. Everyone was happy. The feedback, as always, was excellent. I think everyone was just excited, and this has been a theme also. Everyone was just really excited to eat something else, to eat something that they haven't had. I don't think too many of them, had ribs often. So to be able to serve up some ribs and to give them something that they hadn't eaten was just excellent. And the feedback was, was really nice. Yeah, it was just, to be honest, it was just the perfect end to this whole journey, with everyone just being really, really happy, lots of handshakes and everything. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. After the break, we'll hear from Jack from Vinnies Fred's Van. I'm joined by Jack from Vinnies Fred's Van to hear about their work in Port Pirie. Jack, welcome to the Smoke and Soul podcast.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Jack, can you tell me about the work you do in supporting those in need in Pirie?
Every 5 weeks on a Sunday night, we provide a free meal at Fred's Van. There's 5 different teams, and I'm the team leader of one. And I also work at Vinnies during the week as well. On one day, I go in and work in conference, which is giving out vouchers and food for people who need it.
What else do Vinnies do in Port Pirie?
They run a shop, a second-hand clothing shop, and they also run a furniture warehouse for people in need. There's 4 different branches of Vinnies in Port Pirie.
And how many people, when you do a food service, would you see?
Usually between 25 and 35 normally. Depends a bit on the weather. Sometimes when it's hot or when it's cold, they don't turn up. You never know. Sometimes we've had up to 50 there, which is a lot, and you have to provide food for all them, even though you're sort of not really expecting that many.
Are there other food services available to people that are homeless or doing it tough in Pirie?
There is. There's another church. The Anglican Church provides a meal on a Friday night. That's a sit-down meal, whereas ours is all takeaway. And there's a community hub that provides like a cheaper grocery service. And there's also Food Bank. They've got cheaper groceries too. So there is different services, but yeah, the people are really struggling, so they need help.
Dave and Cara were with you on Sunday. What did them being there mean to your community?
Oh, yeah, it was great. To be honest, I didn't know much about them until I was in touch with them on the phone. We're there every 5 weeks, but we just provide a cold meal because they go away and they heat it up themselves, a cold takeaway meal. But when Dave and Cara turned up, they cooked the meal there, and it was a hot roast meal that the people could either eat there or take home. So, yeah, that was a new experience, and I think people were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I understand that the food is pretty spectacular. How many people did you have that night?
We had 29 last night. So, yeah, it was a reasonable. When Dave was first talking to me, I said cater for about 30.
Oh, well done.
So, yeah, luckily he did.
You know your crew.
Yeah, and some got second, so he catered for more than 30. But, yeah, we did run out of food in the end, so that was surprising because I thought they had heaps of food.
Jack, what are you seeing in 2026 that is different to, say, 2 years ago in Pirie?
The only thing I can think of is that there's more women attending our food service now than what there was 2 years ago. And I also see it in conference where I work. I think there's older women that find themselves homeless at the moment, which you didn't see before. But there's a rental crisis in Port Pirie. And these people, and if you're on the dole, you haven't got much money to rent a house or to run a car or anything. So, yeah, people are really struggling at the moment.
So, Jack, if people were listening to this and they wanted to help, how can they help you?
Well, they can contact Vinnies in Port Pirie or myself personally. I'm actually on the council in Pirie, so they can dig me up, find me online, and, contact me. I'm a team leader. There's 5 other teams. My wife's another team leader. Unfortunately, Vinnies in Port Pirie is struggling a little bit at the moment for volunteers. My team is fine because we're all older, retired people, and they seem happy to keep doing it. But some of the other teams are struggling. So, yeah, we would welcome more volunteers if any come out of the woodwork.
Great. So they can get in contact with you personally, or they can get onto the Vinnies website, Port Pirie, which we'll put a link into the show notes.
Yes, or even Vinnies in Adelaide if they wanted to, and they'd pass them on to us.
Terrific. Jack, thanks so much for your time.
No worries. Thanks for contacting me.
Well, Dave, there we have it. 58 days on the road and your final meal. What did the family do to wrap it all up?
We were really fortunate to also have some friends up from Adelaide, which was really nice. They were obviously helping us out also, and we were able to head to the local pub and just sit down and relax. And it's been a huge journey, and I guess it hadn't really sunk in yet that it was over and that was it. And the other thing as well, it was funny that I was getting really low on almost everything. It's like all my charcoal, all my logs, my barbecue boxes were just I was almost out of all of it, and it all just seemed to empty out of everything at the same time. So it's just funny how things always just seem to work out like that. I think I only had about 2 logs left of wood, and I was almost out of charcoal. So it's funny just to think, well, I don't have to go and get all of that. It was all over, and I guess it was also good to do one final pack of the trailer. I think these past few stops, the constant sort of unpacking and packing has sort of started to wear thin. So it was good to sort of put everything in there again and lock it up and sort of but I mean, I guess you and I will probably speak more about the overall journey in the next episode, but yeah, it's just been a just unreal, amazing, awesome. I'll say all the standard things that I always say. Yeah, it's just been a absolutely amazing experience. So yeah, really happy with it.
Yeah, unbelievable. Congratulations to you and the family, the effort that you've put in, not only in delivering it, but, I'm sure it took a lot of planning beforehand, and hats off to you all. Yes, look forward to the reflection episode, which will be after this one. Yeah, safe travels back to Adelaide. When you get back, it's going to be a bit chilly. We've had a lot of rain down here as well.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Dave, safe travels.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks to Don from Feeding Friends in Broken Hill and Jack from Vinnies, Fred's Van in Port Pirie for sharing the work they do in their communities. And thank you for listening and following Dave and Cara's Smoke and Soul project. I'll be catching up with Dave and Cara for the final episode of this series, where they'll be sharing their stories from their 59-day Smoke and Soul project trip. I'm Wallace Long. Thanks for listening.